Hey guys, it's WooGs here. I'm going to try to record my audio a little bit differently here using actual audio software, so we'll see if this works, or maybe it sounds worse. I don't know. So what do we have here? Here is actually my sorceress from the group, self-found group I had in Season 10. This was about a 6-person group we had. We had a couple goals to do through the GSF that we started basically just a couple weeks ago with late ladder. Um, we had a couple goals to try to beat all the T2 bosses, kind of split up between all of us. So I went for, my goal was really to do Dclone as a sorceress. So it's just managed to get the final pieces of the gear earlier this week. It's kind of a nice touch at the end because I'm really completing also my goal of doing all 7 classes in T2 Dclone. I did Rathma earlier this season, so this was kind of the last piece I needed for Dclone, so I kind of saved it for the GSF to give me some encouragement. So anyway, what are we doing here? We're on Meteor. Meteor, I think, is the best Dclone spec for Sorceress. I actually really like it for Rathma too. Um, this video ends up being a very close one, as you'll see. But I am in, GSF gear, so there's no trading. There were 6 of us playing, so you don't really get amazing gear. I have a couple really nice pieces though, but it's not perfect. So you can definitely be much better gear on ladder. Um, why is Meteor so good? It does a good amount of damage, but it also has split damage. It does physical and fire, and since it has that physical portion, it does put people into like faster hit recovery. So you do see it kind of like stuns or puts them in animation, the skeletons or the Void Knights in Rathma, for example. And for Dclone, it's kind of nice because um, you can kind of drop your Meteor and kind of walk around a little bit. You don't have to constantly be targeting him. You can kind of, it's almost like playing like a trap a little bit in a sense because you're kind of just dropping it and moving. Obviously, you want to stay in range, not to put him into salvation. So when he's immune, you want to stay a bit closer so that the fire burning on the ground is also continuing. But I have really not that great defenses here. I don't have max BDR and my life's a bit low. I don't have double dwarf, so I'm not able to stay in the fray as much as I'd like. I am using Blaze because I don't have cannot be frozen. So if you keep that activated, you'll actually not get frozen, but you can screw it up, as you'll probably see. So this is a bit of when it gets harder, all the skelly phases. You really just want to drop your meteors on the archers as best you can. You don't really need to worry about the skeletons themselves, to be honest, because you're constantly casting Blaze, and that fire actually does decent amount of damage. So, and since they're going to get hit a little bit by the meteors you target on the archers, they're kind of just going to die on their own. So, I wouldn't waste any really meteors on those guys at all. Maybe when the archers are dead, if they're somehow still alive, then you can go after them. So that's kind of the idea there. You'll see I've got some pretty close calls here. I think every big hit is a close call. I don't think I played this great, to be honest. It is not easy, I would say, but I definitely could have played it better. Could have had some more practice runs as a Sorc. I really should have, since we were in the GSF. I didn't have an infinite number of PES or anything either, so I should have put a bit more practice. But I kind of liked the gear setup I had enough, and it looked doable, so that's kind of why I pushed it here. Obviously, there's a few things that would make it a lot easier, but it was just impossible to find some uniques. Honestly, it's really frustrating sometimes with the trade league, but that's what makes it fun. I mean, if you can get all the items, it's not as challenging, of course. So it was a nice challenge for that. So really, you want to try, like I said, try to stay about this distance away if you can, so that the fire, I'm a bit too far there, as you'll see, and that's when he's going to go into salvation, just so that when you're in the meteor fire patch at the end, is going to keep burning him as much as possible. If you can get him around a pillar, it's really nice. If you can also target around the pillar. You need line of sight to cast your meteor, so you can't just blindly cast it from behind the pillar, but you can cast it to like the side of a pillar, and that'll work. So that's kind of what you want to do. I didn't do a great job at that. I did it sometimes here, but not as often as I'd like, so that's something you'll see. Like, there's quite a few times when he's immune for a couple meteors, so that's definitely improvement I can make on that. But I only had like 2 PS, so I was pretty, I only would have one more try after this, so I didn't really want to. I was taking it a little bit safe, but then also spending a lot of rejuves doing that, and as you can see, a lot of the calls are close. This is the worst phase by far in this fight. There's just so much damage all at once until you get some archers down. You'll see there I got a bit distracted by the damage. I didn't have my blaze ready, so I did not manage to have that up to get the cannot be frozen. So getting frozen here obviously is really frustrating. I lose a lot of rejuves from that, but what can you do? You'll see here, there's definitely a strategy, but it's a bit chaos. You kind of just want to, as much as you can, get your meteors down to kind of, get the archers down and some of the mages just so you get a little bit less damage. Sorry about that. That's my dog's going crazy, but what can you do? So that was, kind of decent. They're all done there. Now we're in the final phase here. We got a, decent number of rejuves, but not the best. But it looks doable. So we're just gonna kind of try to bring him into the center here. Not much really to say from here. I mean, this is always, you're so close at this stage usually, but it's always a big challenge because this is when you get the most meteors, the most random damage. So you can end up blowing a lot of pots. There's a few times where you might, be potting like 2 or 3 times without doing any damage, which is a big issue. So you'll see there he was not taking any damage for quite a while. And that's because I was a bit too far away, which was a mistake on my side. So I only have 2 pots left. I'm very close. So I'm just going to send it. It's a bit dicey, but I'm pretty confident it's going to work. And then that's kind of it. I died to some desync fire there at the end. I mean, that's kind of nice anyway. Kind of funny to go that route, but I don't know. I thought it was a bit funny way to end my Dclone career this season. So there's the walk of shame picking up your body and the Annie. Yeah, so I mean that was kind of something I was pushing for, trying to farm up the last week and a half, trying to find the last pieces of gear. I really got to thank my buddies in the GSF. I mean, we had Bubbles, Willy, Healen, Drew was involved there at the end. Of course, Art's the huge success on his time. I mean, Cail, I think, spent a couple hours playing Fuzzy maybe spent a few hours. Willy was there quite a bit. Bubbles was there huge early, carrying the lead. Arts is a monster, carrying so many kills. Healen found my insane weapon, so I can't discredit that at all because that kind of saved my life there. And I think he got the last PESs here, which was massive. So let's go through the gear. I see the Brimstone, Shaco. I'll put a link to this as well. I mean, some of this stuff is pretty decent. Nothing too amazing because it's the GSF, but I would have changed a few things if, the faster cast rate's not doing anything there in the lava gouts, but kind of is what it is. I had a couple lifers, which is pretty good, and I ended up just changing all this to small charms with life because I just couldn't get res, so it's just kind of all small charms at that point. So obviously the +1 4-socket Brimstone's crazy good for GSF. I don't know how we got so lucky, but that kind of carried me for the rest of my gear. You don't have much choices. I mean, you're maxing 4 abilities, 5 abilities, level 20, so you need all the skills you can get. So that's kind of it. I'll put a link to my armory, but appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Cheers.